The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
The Avengers Initiative, Hawkeye.
Welcome to the Avengers Initiative, Hawkeye, a PapiChuloRadio.com original series. Papi Chulo Radio celebrating a decade of podcasting excellence. Today is Tuesday, December 14th, 2021, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Aruz. During this podcast, we'll be having an in-depth discussion on Disney Plus's Hawkeye. Please welcome my co-host, Priscilla Rocha.
Pull me up!
Yes. Well, actually, I'll cut you down. You can follow the Christmas lights. And Professor X.
You seem like you're a reasonably not stupid guy.
I try. Let's jump into our discussion of Season 1, Episode 4, which was titled Partners. Am I right? ? And debuted December 8th, 2021 via Disney+. Here's the official synopsis of the episode. Secrets are revealed about a key suspect in the mystery, while hard truths emerge about Hawkeye and his past. But as Clint and Kate's partnership finally takes off, their efforts to uncover more of the story result in a stunning and confusing battle against not one, but two opposing forces. Dun dun dun. Okay. An interesting episode. I would say a talky episode, but certainly I would also say a good episode that sets up the final third of the series as we get closer and closer to the Christmas deadline for one Mr. CB1. So let's talk about the episode, and because it was a very talky episode, we'll actually go in the order of things in this episode. Let's start off where we left off with, I believe the professor called it an anticlimactic cliffhanger, but we pick up directly when the Ronin sword is placed on Clint's neck. There's a whole bunch of, because not only is Jack there, but Eleanor's there, and we have a very awkward convo between the four of them at the dinner table. Priscilla, you were not here with us last week, so I'll start off with you. What did you think of the opening sequence with the four of them at the table, and if you want to talk a little bit about Eleanor and Hawkeye's one-on-one at the elevator, you can as well.
I thought that part of the scene was really awkward. It was just, I don't know. I found myself looking away from the screen, just feeling like the residual awkwardness of the moment, just being like, God dang, like you can't even say that you're a partner because Hawkeye is just kind of lambasting that moment with you, and you can't even say that you're friends because Hawkeye is just kind of like brushing you off too, and you can't even reason away what you were doing or why you were researching your mother's fiance now, because it just everything looks suspicious and everything's pointed towards you, and everyone knows what the hell you were doing, but you can't skirt around it. And it's just hella awkward. I felt bad for poor Kate. But I wanted to say that I loved the scene between Kate's mom and Clint, because that showed metal. That showed that she has kind of like an iron backbone, that she's like a good mom, that she's like, I don't want my daughter involved in your superhero shenanigans. But it also shows that she's suspicious, because why would you not trust her to look around in your backstory? If you have nothing to hide, then it wouldn't matter, right?
Okay. All right. You gave her props, but you also leveled up the suspiciousness. Which, okay, I can dig that. Professor, your take on the Eleanor and Clint scene at the elevator, and let's dive a little deeper into the next scene as well, when we have both Jack and Eleanor talking about Kate to her face, basically, like right in front of her. She's obsessed with Hawkeye. She's been since a child, this, that, and the other, and if I met Huey Lewis, like all of that. But then we had a moment where we softened both of those characters. Like, we've been hella suspicious about both Eleanor and Jack, but they had a tender moment, dancing, laughing at, some of the linguistical quirks of Jack. Did the softening work a little bit, or did it make them both more suspicious to you, Professor?
Oh, I thought it was. I'm still, very suspicious of Eleanor. I'm still even less suspicious of Jack, quite frankly. I still think she's put him on the as the CEO, and he probably doesn't even know about her. He's, CEO in name only. But I thought it was delightful. Before we get to that, though, I don't know if you noticed this, but when Jack was there slurping his coffee, did you notice the pattern on his mug?
Wait, is this serious?
Hexes, which means the Scarlet Witch is involved.
Oh my gosh. I can't.
No, I really like that. I think the awkwardness of it could have even been played up because, leaving aside the fact that he's Archer, which, by the way, not a bad name compared with Hawkeye. There's the fact that, this middle-aged guy is hanging out with your 22-year-old daughter. I think any parent would be a little skeeved out at that. I'm totally on Eleanor's side. The scene by the elevator was great. Really showing, I think regardless of what we find out about Eleanor as a person, I don't think there's going to be any question that she is a caring mother and a mother who wants to protect her child. And I think that certainly came out in that scene. So I don't think there's going to be any sense that that's not going to be the case. And in fact, we do get, Eleanor making a mysterious phone call to someone else a little later on, which I think is, again, just showing the level of Eleanor's, devotion to her daughter. But I really like the scene where, because you have, and again, it's sort of like, Kate has this sense that, the new guy, he must be bad. But he's really making Eleanor happy, and it did seem like she's happy in a way that Eleanor has not been for a while. And one of the things I love is the way that Haley Steinfeld is playing it, because she's playing it as the daughter who, is, of course, obviously suspicious of the new guy in her mom's life. But she manages to play it in the sense that, she's looking at them dancing and actually sort of softening up to Jack. And later on, when Jack is offering to get Eleanor a cup of tea, and he asks Kate, do you want anything? She actually says, no, thank you. Whereas before, in the previous 3 episodes, I'm sure it just would have been no or a grunt. So I don't know that necessarily means that she's softening up to Jack, but I think that, everything we're being shown about Jack suggests that he's a decent guy. And I really enjoyed the scene of the two dancing together in the serenade. And of course, Jack's malapropisms. He's so charming. Now he could turn out to be an absolute, monster villain who's played us all for fools. But if so, there really hasn't been much to justify it. We haven't gotten those moments of his sneakiness that would pay off on that later.
Do we think shit's going to go down at the Bishop holiday party? Bishop security holiday party?
Yeah, I think you wouldn't mention it otherwise. Yeah, I think there definitely has to be something.
And the big question for both of you, who is she talking to on the phone? Someone that we already know, or is it that regal man that we haven't name dropped yet?
First viewing, I thought it was Kingpin, but no, it's Val.
It's who?
Val, Countess.
Oh, no
Julia
shit.
Louis-Dreyfus.
Really?
You know, that actress? Well, think about how else would
that actress.
Yelena know to have shown up there right then.
Wow. You blew my mind with that one, because I didn't even put Val into the mix. Well,
I wouldn't have, but then
yeah.
when Yelena showed up later, who would have contact with Yelena? So in fact, I mean, time-wise, it could be that, that phone call actually happened right before the closing, the post-credit scene of Black Widow.
That's fascinating. Okay. All right. Okay. You blew my mind with that one.
It would also explain, the kind of
Yeah.
a little hanging plot point from the end of Black Widow is, why was Val trying to steer Yelena towards killing Clint Barton? Well, now we got our answer.
Okay. I hope you get proven to be correct, because that
Yeah.
sort of syncs
I
up
was
beautifully.
thinking it was Val too.
All right. Okay. All right. All right. Both of y'all blowing my mind, and I love it. Fantastic. Okay, so let's have a holly jolly Christmas, because Kate, after hearing, I don't know if it necessarily was a trigger that they were discussing, family and Christmas and this and that and the other, but she heads on over to Clint, and they have their own little holly jolly Christmas together. I'm going to save the conversation with Laura for in a moment, because I have a big question about that. So let's focus on the Christmas shenanigans and hijinks at Kate's aunt's apartment. Are we ever going to meet Kate's aunt? Stay tuned. I don't know. But let's talk about it. There were a whole bunch of alcoholic slushies. It was very talky, but it was all very interesting. And then it did take a bit of a dark turn with a couple of revelations. Number one, about how Clint and Natasha met, as well as Kate figuring out that Clint, Hawkeye, was the Ronin, and Ronin was his way to cope when his family blipped. So let's talk about the light and the darkness in this sequence at Kate's aunt's apartment. Professor, let's start off with you.
Well, I like the fact that, she did figure it out, that it didn't require, because Clint would not have said, would not have come right out and said, I'm Ronin. So it was hinting at it when he was talking about, having been a weapon and all of that. It also was a good payoff to a line earlier in the episode when they were, sitting around the table, and Kate was just, being Kate, and sort of playing the the yappy little dog to Clint's big silent dog, and when she was saying he acts like he's not giving anything away, but I can figure it out, and it turns out, hey, she actually could. She did manage to figure that out from context quite well. Lots of great fun. The whole idea. She is paying attention. She does realize the consequences of what she's done. That. Clint is away from his family because of her. She feels guilty about that, so she's trying to, make it a good Christmas for them. There were some great moments. The dry erase scene was fantastic. When he was teaching her how to, flick the ornament, I'm sure that will pay off at some point.
100% right.
But and they actually, the fact that she was able to do that, like she didn't ever hit Pizza Dog, she didn't smash the TV or anything like that. I thought that was, a good moment for Kate to pick up that skill so quickly. So I thought it was very heartwarming and did set up the fact that if you hadn't had that moment of them bonding and talking and getting to know each other, there's no way that Clint would have told the story about the shot he didn't take, which of course is again just a reminder of Natasha, and we got Natasha in a flashback, and again that was sort of setting up for the introduction of Yelena later in the episode, as well as what happened to Kate.
Well, yes. We will be talking about all of that. Priscilla, your take on the Christmas shenanigans, as well as the deeper conversation that was had between Clint and Kate, And do you, much like the professor, and I would also say myself, think that the little flick thing that she learned will be used later on in the series before it wraps up?
Definitely. They're going to use it to like escape from somewhere, to use it to flick a switch or something like that sometime in the future. But I think one of the funniest parts of the entire episode was when she was using the Sharpie and they were like, "That's not dry erase marker, is it?" And she just covers it up with a tree and just moves on with the conversation as if nothing happened.
I
I
know,
loved
right?
that moment. It was super cute. But yeah, that the whole holiday party that they had together was super, like, it was charming and sweet, and the fact that Clint taught her something, like he's warming up to Kate. He's not being just the big dog to Kate's like little yappy dog anymore. He's actually being a mentor. He's actually teaching her something. And then as soon as that happens, when she starts talking about the shot not taken, and then after that when they get into the Ronin situation, he shuts down, and I was like, no, one step forward, two steps back. Damn it.
It was a good moment, I think, for both of them in general, the lightness of that sequence. I'm glad that the Ronin reveal was done in the way that it was, with Kate kind of understanding it and not flipping out. They could have gone the other way where, this is a person that we know is her idol in a sense. And, it's like, the whole, what was the name of the first episode? Never Meet Your Heroes or something like that. It could have been a Never Meet Your Hero situation where she could have been disappointed and it could have taken a different turn that could have derailed some of the episode. And I'm glad that they had her be understanding. It was during the blip. He was still, he might have been out killing people and that sort of thing, but he was killing like bad people, so she kind of got it. And even though Hawkeye still has a lot of PTSD, for lack of a better word, about it, he needs to get over that. And as we've been discussing, we think that's something that he will fully come to a reckoning with. At least we hope by the end of this series. They keep on mentioning Natasha, which I know it's to remind us about Yelena, but I do wonder if he's going to get some sort of closure with that because it still seems like a fresh wound. Because it is, sort of. Well, no, not really. It's been a year since people have deblipped, or maybe months, but 5 years. So it's still, well, it could still be fresh. I mean, that was his best bud.
Well, and I don't think
Hmm.
it's something that you get over. I mean, in the same way that, when he was, closing his eyes, he had the flashbacks to, losing Natasha, as well as, the flashback to the trauma of losing his family. So he's still not over that. He's still not
Yeah.
over the, what he did as Ronin. I think, there is really, we talked about it last week, a lot of PTSD going on for Clint Barton, or CB1. And he's going to have to come to terms with that. And again, you're still getting that with his discomfort with being a hero and arguing that he's just a weapon when he's in the right hands pointing in the right direction. It makes sense, but he is really beating himself up. And we've said that since the first episode. He doesn't feel he's worthy of the attention or the adulation or anything like that. He sees himself as just a guy doing a job, basically.
True. Yes. Which I wonder if there's going to be some evolution with that, but stay tuned. So let's talk about Laura. Laura knows a whole lot about a whole lot of stuff, which is fascinating. We see a phone call between them. She ends up getting intel for him about Kazi, about Sloane, about the tracksuit mafia. We hear her speaking, I believe that was German. We hear her speaking in German so that the kids
Yeah.
would understand what she's saying. She talks about that watch that we saw way back in the first episode. I will say this. I thought the watch was like Tony's watch, like Tony Stark, because they talked about the Avengers compound and this, that, or the other. So I thought it was like a Stark watch. But it turns out it's not a Stark watch. For some reason, Laura is able to track the beacon on it. We get a little intel that it has to deal with someone that was in the field but is no longer in the field, but has a whole bunch of, let's say, maybe metadata on it that can identify said person. I'll just ask in a very blunt way, was Laura a SHIELD agent? Do we think
Of
she
course she
is?
was.
Okay. Did we
Laura's
think
totally
that...
Mockingbird.
Well, here's the question. Did we think this at all about Laura before this episode?
No.
Okay.
No, although it is interesting, like in this series, we have gotten more of Linda Cardellini. And by the way, yay, more Linda Cardellini. Anything for more of that is great. But there was that little thing, when he was talking to her on the phone about the Tracksuit Mafia, and she sort of sighs and goes, oh, those losers. And it did give a sense that, Linda is not just, she obviously has experience. She knows everything that Clint is up to. She knows his backstory.
She
and
knows
all
about the
of that.
Ronin.
And so I think they were setting that up nicely. But yeah, in this case, definitely, was she the original, the Mockingbird? And of course, Bobby Morse was Mockingbird in the comics, and they were married, at least briefly during the West Coast Avengers days. So I think there is something to that. And honestly, I much as I don't want to see Clint's family get in danger, I think if the Tracksuit Mafia shows up at their house and Linda Cardellini beats their asses, that is something I would be here for.
I would 100% as well. Yes, the leading theory online is that she is maybe the OG Mockingbird, which is fascinating. Yes, I'm kind of here for that. We haven't had Mockingbird on. Well, this is Disney Plus, so I can't say the big screen, but it's all connected. So this is technically a part of the big screen. So this is going to be fascinating to watch. Okay, so we're all on the same page in regards to that. So moving right along, let's talk about our favorite LARPers, because they got brought into the mix yet again. I mean, just the payoff of this sort of like side story is fantastic. We meet a few more of them. We are given some additional names. While Clint is interrogating or threatening/warning Kazi, we'll talk about that in a moment. We see Kate being assigned to go to the LARPers because, they have to actually get the arrows back. He does have a few more trick arrowheads, but he actually needs the arrows back, and he's tracked them to an NYPD evidence locker, and they have a connection with the LARPers that might be able to help. Turns out they will help, but as Grill said, you might have to do a little something for us, make it worth our while. And they do. Well, at least Kate promises to provide them with material for costumes, as long as they can also make 2 additional ones. And there is a fantastic little moment when Officer Wendy returns with the arrowheads in her own little like duffel bag tote type of thing that her wife made for her. And clearly we're going to have to get the duffel bag, the bombshell duffel bag, back at a certain point. So we will be seeing our LARPers again. Professor Yelda Woohoo, you love the LARPers. Talk to me about everything LARP.
Well, I thought it was so great to reintroduce the LARPers. It could have been just a one-off joke, with Clint's, awkwardness there. But what I like is it ended up being a payoff, because Clint did go there. And even though he was uncomfortable doing it, he did play along. Respected their rules, respected their way. And as a result, they're now allies. They're helping them out. And I love the bombshell moment. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but I would not be surprised to see the LARPers play a not insignificant role in the future.
Same. I mean, clearly we're going to have to see them again. I mean, they've been so fantastic. So I'm here for it. And if we have any other NYC set series, like, I hope that they just show up at some point. Like, it would just be so much fun. Like, they are fun characters. Priscilla, I'm going to bring you into the convo, but also want to add in what Clint was doing while Kate was LARPing it up. He goes to see Kazi because, he knows who he is. He knows that he's been sort of like the second in command ever since Maya's father was in the mix. And he basically delivers a warning to him. The Ronin is a ghost. Maya is going to get herself killed if she keeps on poking around. And that he knows the business that he's involved in. He knows his boss, and that his boss doesn't really want this kind of attention. So he needs to basically steer Maya away from this. What'd you think of the LARPing sequence with Kate, as well as what Clint was up to during that time?
I thought the way that they entered the LARPing sequence was funny as hell because I just couldn't help but compare the two. How Clint enters the LARPing and he's really hesitant, just kind of embarrassed and just like, I don't want to do this. But Kate enters it and she's like gung-ho, just like, yes, I'm like, what do you want me to do? I'm ready for anything. Let's go. Like she's ready even at the very beginning when they're just doing sword practice outside at in the park to join in and play. She's really eager for anything to do with being a hero, even if it means being a fake hero for a little while. And I love that about her. And I'm hoping that they're the ones that design the new costume and that the new costume is badass. But
Oh, same. I hope it's a badass costume. I feel like it's gonna be.
as far as the scene with Clint and Kazi, I totally don't think that's gonna work because you're basically telling this guy who's never found anything for Maya to chase after, who's finally gotten a bone in this giant quest of hers. Hey, don't go on this quest of hers. Don't go on this quest anymore. That's just gonna egg him on and fire him up even more. He did the exact opposite of what you should have done. You should have just ignored it. Kazi's not gonna tell her no. Kazi's gonna tell her yes.
Oh, I
Especially after
disagree.
this.
Oh, okay. All right, Professor.
No, I disagree. I think Clint was actually playing, the best card he had, which is, because Kazi, he realizes that Kazi is, an established guy. He's been there for 6 years or something like that. He clearly has, a relationship of some level of trust with Maya. So, he's probably playing into, as he said, he doesn't want, let's stop playing around the bush. The Kingpin doesn't want to be seen, doing, anything public or drawing attention to that. And that's what Maya's getting in trouble. So he's talking to the one person he can talk to who might be able to get through to Maya, but also invoking the Kingpin, as sort of a boss level threat. If Maya isn't willing to listen to him, or if Kazi isn't willing to listen to him, he's basically, giving Kazi a reason to do an end run around Maya and go to the Kingpin to get this done. So I think it was a very smart play because he knows he's not going to get anywhere with Maya, and he doesn't want to kill anyone. He doesn't want to kill her, or kill anyone for that matter. So this is, sort of, going with the way he's trying to, de-escalate as much as he can. And I think, Kazi is his only chance of doing that.
Okay. Priscilla, do you have a rebuttal to the professor's rebuttal?
No, I
Okay.
can see where he's coming from with that.
Okay. This is a question that I want to ask you, Priscilla, because I asked this to the professor last time, and he said no. But after seeing this episode, I want to revisit the question with you. So in the previous episode, we get Maya's backstory, and part of her backstory includes seeing her father die, and it appears as if it's the Ronin that kills him.
Oh God, you're doing this again.
I know, I'm doing it again. Because the thing is, because I've read online that there is a storyline in the comics where Kingpin has Maya's father killed. So I want to ask you, Priscilla, because we never saw Clint's face, and I know it's from the POV from Maya. I understand it. But do you think for sure Clint, as Ronan, killed Maya's father? Well, in doing what he was doing, which is cleaning up bad guys, and clearly Maya's father was involved with bad people. Or do you think we'll get a storyline where we will find out somehow as we're introduced to Kingpin, which clearly he's on his way. Do you think we'll find out that Kingpin was involved in Maya's father's death?
Ah, you're talking about the chameleon, right? About him hiring him to kill his dad and using like stand-ins for other superheroes because I've read that before, but I don't think they're necessarily going in that route with this one because the Ronin seriously was bloodthirsty. He did kill people to try and find his way, and Clint basically agreed that he killed tracksuits to try and find the leader at the time.
Okay.
So
Now,
I don't necessarily believe
I'm
that
in no. I'm not going to
someone
indulge.
else.
I'm not going to indulge Jeff's crazy idea, but I am going to point out the idea that we have talked about. We know that Echo is getting her own series,
Correct.
and it would be difficult for her to get a series as just the leader of the tracksuit mafia.
Correct.
So if she did find out the Kingpin was in some way involved in her father's death, then that would give her a bit of a chance at a face turn. So, I mean, there is that possibility there. But the fact that, from her flashback, she could see Ronan dancing around, killing people, and the fact that, Clint, I think, was obviously familiar with the, I keep calling it trench coat mafia, the tracksuit mafia. Yeah, I just think that's a stretch.
Okay. It's a question. We'll see what ends up happening. But I was curious to hear Priscilla's take on it. We'll have to wait and see. I'm here for anything. I'm just excited we might see that man soon. So yeah, whether he ends up getting exposed or he sort of like hides in the shadows and pops up somewhere else, whatever ends up happening, it's going to be fascinating to watch. Speaking of a watch, we get a ping on the watch, and Mockingbird, or sorry, Laura, ends up sending Clint a text. Now, here's the thing, because Professor, you're the one that sort of made me hip to the concept that only good people in movies and TV shows, they have iPhones, right? And bad people...
Yes, Apple will only allow a hero to use an iPhone.
Okay, so bad people have Android and everything else.
Now that's not to say it's absolute. I mean, now that people are becoming aware of this, I think some filmmakers may actually choose to give people Android phones just to throw us off the scent.
Okay, because I was about to be a little shady here, because we clearly saw Clint text Laura with an iPhone device because it was the blue little screen, the blue bubble, I should say. But then when she texted him back, it was a green bubble, which means she does not have an iPhone.
So you're saying she's Mephisto?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay, so she ends up texting him back. They have the address. And there's like this whole bit of banter like across the street of like, I'm going to go do this and it's going to take me 3 minutes and this, that, or the other. But Kate ends up just crossing the street, helps an elderly man with his groceries and gets in the elevator up to the apartment that she needs to. She also creeps the old man out when she says she's talking to an Avenger that's in her ear. So he kind of skedaddles. And once she enters, there end up being some strobe lights, and she ends up finding the watch, but she also finds that said person of this apartment has a detailed list of Clint, his wife's name, children's ages, and all that kind of stuff. And then they realize that is Maya's apartment. And so Kate starts fighting Maya. Clearly we heard Clint fighting someone else. He thinks he's fighting Maya, but he is not. It's an epic fight on the roof of some building in New York City. We have a brief Natasha moment with Kate that I felt maybe was a bit too much. I was like, oh God, this poor man is going to need therapy after all this. And we find out that mysterious person is Yelena from the Black Widow movie. Listeners, if you had no idea who that woman was, I suggest you go see on Disney Plus. It is available for your viewing pleasure. The Black Widow film, so that it's understandable to you. So at the end of it all, we have Maya sort of slither away. She's a villain right now, so I can say slither. And we have a brief moment where Kate was going to shoot Yelena with an arrow, but she does like a and does a fantastic leap exit type of thing. And Clint basically tells Kate, you can't be involved in this. Like, it's got to the point to where, I have been marked by the Black Widow. Somebody wants me dead. You can no longer be involved in this. So that's how the episode ends. So let's talk about this fight sequence of, from one apartment to the roof of a building. I mean, there was a lot going on. So let's talk about it all. Priscilla, we'll start off with you.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
Okay,
I loved that. From them honoring the fact that like deaf people, when they use alarm systems, they use the flashing lights, which I thought was pretty cool. The fact that they used that and that they remembered, and Maya came out of nowhere and started fighting Kate, and the fact that the grappling, like the dash to the other rooftop wasn't as smooth as it should have been.
So good, because it felt real, because she's not going to be that smooth,
Yeah, and I loved that fight scene with the Black Widow. Like, it looked so freaking good. And I loved the part where Kate almost fell, and she's like, pull me up," and he's like, "Nope, you're gonna get out of this fight." And the first thing she does is just starts walking up the building to help him out again.
No, but the walk
She's
was
very
fantastic. Yes, it was like a petulant child. She was like almost, I could have seen her stomping, up the steps because she was pissed. That daddy was like, you cannot play with those toys anymore. Like, it was fantastic how she did that because it was so funny.
Yeah, and I like the little shake of the head that Yelena gave her. Where she's like, don't shoot that arrow. I'm gonna shove it up your ass. I love that.
I like the Priscilla subtitles for that scene because I don't really get all that, but I liked your interpretation of what Yelena said. That's nice. Maybe I see if my Disney Plus has the Priscilla subtitles for when I watch the next episode. That was good. Professor, I want to bring you into the convo. Your thoughts on, the big fight that ended the episode and our, mysterious friend showing up again. Friend or foe?
I wasn't as crazy about the fight simply because I think, last episode we talked about, there was the fight scene and then the car chase, and it was done during the light of day. So I think it was so much more spectacular that way. That, when you're shooting at night and you're shooting everything in close-ups rather than long, uninterrupted one takes, you can hide a lot of stuff and you can, mask a lot of stuff. So, I mean, it was a perfectly adequate fight, but it didn't blow me away in quite the same way. I kind of wondered about, Yelena's, I'm glad now that we have the subtitling because apparently I wasn't watching with the right subtitling. But it was weird that, because Kate does have her dead to rights. She's pointing the arrow at her, and Yelena just gives her the look that says, don't do that. And that could be a reference back to, Clint earlier in the episode saying, his best shot was the one he didn't take. And then, somewhat ironic that even though they don't know this is Natasha's sister, the shot she didn't take was at Yelena. And it's clearly not a reluctance to shoot people full of arrows because she did it to Echo. Moments earlier, she shot Echo with an arrow who basically just ripped it out and walked away.
I know, right?
Good Lord, what the hell is Echo's deal? That's crazy.
Badass.
But so I mean, it was a perfectly good fight scene. I did like the idea that, and like you mentioned, with Kate when she is cut down, she didn't race up to the, she just marched in there absolutely, like you say, like a petulant child. And again, that is, we've talked about, last week about Kate's, character arc is going to have to be her growing and developing. It takes me back to something that, Eleanor said in the first episode. You've always been young and rich, and you think you're indestructible as a result. And, it was up until the end of this episode that she was still doing that, especially, when they were on the roof, looking in. And Clint was trying to, give her the knowledge that she wants. He's explaining how you case the joint, and it's more important to have a quick exit than a quick entrance and all that stuff. And meanwhile, she's just wandered over and has, strode in on her own, in a very public way. So, and even, they even have, a line that Clint says something to the point of that, how she's using her immaturity and experience as a shield. And she says, yeah, basically. And so I think that's why, you had to have the breakup of the team by the end of the episode. She couldn't keep doing that, especially in this sort of, high intensity. So I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to see a much more serious Kate Bishop in the next episode. She's going to have to demonstrate some sense of having grown up, realizing she's not indestructible, realizing, that the stakes here are very real and very high. And we're going to have to see some growth on her part.
I like that take. I wonder if we can see that and have it be believable over the next 2 episodes. Well, yeah, we'll see. I'm here for it, though. Kate has been fantastic. She's fun. I don't want her to lose some of the fun if they have to make her a little bit more mature. I don't think we will, but I'm here for character growth. We certainly have a lot that we have to see unfold over the next third of the series. We have 2 episodes left. We still have many questions that need to be answered. First of all, who killed Armand the Third? There's that. Who is Eleanor involved with if she's doing nefarious stuff? Is Jack a nefarious person? Clearly he has no previous connection to Clint, so whatever comic booky stuff, is not here. He was called Sword Boy as opposed to Swordsman, so there was a little wink. Will Maya find out the truth? Who is Laura? There's so many questions that need to be asked. I just asked a whole bunch of them myself. Are there any other questions that either of you have that you feel 100% need to be answered before the series wraps? We have 2 episodes left, a third left, so clearly we're getting the final act told over the next 2 episodes. Are there any questions that you would like answered, and or do you feel like there's at least a scene that you feel needs to be seen before the series wraps? I'll start off with the professor.
Well, we obviously have to find out what's up with the Rolex. And again, the easiest option is that it's Laura's, but it's clearly a man's watch. On the other hand, it could be that, if it's got, sensitive, transmitters and stuff like that. So maybe it's a watch that, she gave to Clint, because they were both at S.H.I.E.L.D. and it could be S.H.I.E.L.D. tech or something like that. But that would be a great way to set up the reveal of that. In terms of the scene that I want to see, I think, as I said, Kate is going to have to kind of go it alone. I would suspect, the next episode might be them on parallel tracks, doing their own thing. And, Kate on her own, how will she do it? How can she, find the help that she'll need? the LARPers. I would be willing to bet that Kate will turn to the LARPers to be her support staff. And let's face it, they're all emergency workers. So I think that there could be a real good payoff of that.
I like it. Priscilla, what about you? Any questions that you feel need to be answered or any scenes that you would like to see in the series before it wraps?
Two basically silly ones, which is, will the LARPer ever get back her bombshell bag? And will Dr. Kate never figure out that that Clint took his Ronin sword?
Oh, okay. Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's good. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, Clint did acquire the Ronin sword back, which is good. I mean, he has the suits, he's got the sword now. Now he actually has the watch, although I believe it's on Kate's person.
Yeah, that's
So
a good point.
we're gonna need to see a scene where Kate gives it back, or she might get in trouble
yeah.
because she has the watch. So
Or she might start poking around with it and figure out the thing that Clint doesn't want found out because she's the one who's got the watch. I would not be half surprised to find out, because Kate will be like, "Oh, why did you leave me behind?" And "Oh, I just had the stupid watch. Let's see what we can do here." That could be an interesting way to set that up.
yes. We did learn in this episode that there were 3 days left until Christmas. So since we end the episode at night, there are 2 days left. The only thing that I really want to see outside of just the questions that I had and the questions that all of you have is I need to see Clint back with his family. And I feel like the closing scene will be Clint with his family celebrating Christmas. He'll make it just in time. And I do think that what the professor said before could actually end up happening, that Kate shows up with him. I feel like that would be sort of like a full circle moment for them because Clint still seems kind of apprehensive to have Kate involved in anything, even though they had the bonding moments during the Ugly Christmas Sweater movie marathon holiday slushy montage. I think the full warming up to Kate will be part of Clint's story. Will Eleanor and Jack be there? It depends on where they fall in at the end of the series, if they're all good or all bad. But I think Kate will have a Barton family Christmas. I do think that's going to happen. I feel like that was a great prediction, a bold prediction that you made way back either in the first or the second episode, Professor. All right, everyone. Anything else? Was there anything that I missed? A teeny tiny little moment before we get into the MVP? Pizza Dog was adorable, right? We didn't mention Pizza Dog at all, but Pizza Dog was fantastic, eating the whatever that was, Chex Mix or something. All right, MVP time. The most valuable player. State which character impressed you throughout the episode and why. Once a character has been chosen, they cannot be selected again, so choose wisely. Priscilla, your MVP, y por qué?
My MVP is going to go to Yelena because I felt that she was the star of the end of the episode. She was the big bang. She was the big reveal. She was the amazing part of that fight scene. She gave a breath of life to the episode at the end, and she made everything really cool. So yeah, Yelena.
Very nice choice. Professor, what about you?
Kate, again, I've said this a lot, but, the casting of Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop was, one of their best casting choices that they've made. She is absolutely, nailing the character, her really annoying elements as well as her, better elements as well. And I think, she's approaching it with a lot more subtlety than a lot of actresses might have. And she's just, she's a delight to watch as she's going through this process of growing up. Over a very short period of time. And I think Haley Steinfeld is doing a great job of that.
Another fantastic choice. And I'm going to give the MVP to Clint. I really enjoyed Jeremy Renner in this episode. The PTSD, the trauma, the heartache that he's still carrying, based off of everything that we've seen happen to him throughout the MCU, was incredibly captured in Jeremy Renner's emoting, and it was just beautiful. I really felt for Clint in this episode, and I enjoyed seeing his relationship with Kate develop the way that it did in this episode. Clearly, we have a bit of a stumble, but the character development, the bonding that they had throughout the episode was really nice. So now it's time to rate the episode. How would you rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10 arrows? The point system is allowed, and if you found the episode exceptional, deserving of more than a 10, you may grant it the coveted golden quiver. Professor, let's start off with you.
Very solid episode. I'm going to give it a 9 for the character stuff. But unlike the previous 2 episodes, it didn't have that set piece scene, like the car chase or the LARPing scene that sort of would bump it up a little bit higher for me. So, great character stuff, but yeah, it just felt a little not as overwhelming as the previous 2 episodes.
Okay, so that was a solid 9, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, solid 9 from the professor. Priscilla, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to give it a 9 too, for much the same reasons that the professor gave the 9, plus the fact that the residual embarrassment from the scenes with Kate and the family really took it out of me at the very beginning. So yeah, a 9.
Okay. And I will actually agree with the 9 as well. I will disagree with the professor because I did think the fight at the end was really good. So I will give them props for that. But, after a couple of episodes of really good action, we had a couple of action-y episodes, and that was really nice. This one was a talky episode. There was a lot of exposition. It really was a lot of conversations. Different characters having conversations, but it was a very talky episode, and I think that's what brings it down for me just a hair. Although the tiny reveals that we got were really interesting, and certainly all the conversations were fodder for us to start theorizing about stuff for the final 2 episodes. So at the end of it all, it really was a middle of the season type of episode, an episode that sets things up versus the previous couple of episodes. So on that note, join us next time for a brand new installment of the Avengers Initiative, Hawkeye. Here's our announcer to remind you on how you can interact with us.
Follow Poppy Chulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chulo Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychuloradio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chulo Radio programs by visiting poppychuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Just search for The Avengers Initiative, Hawkeye, and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. My co-hosts, please wish the listeners a good night, starting off with Priscilla.
Good night, everybody.
And the professor.
Good night, listeners. And if you're missing us, remember, absence makes the heart grow older.
It does. Thanks for tuning in. Download new episodes of the Avengers Initiative Hawkeye every Wednesday via Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and the Poppy Chulo Radio archives. Good night.